The habits that everyone wants to talk about in the popular literature or books is like, these small habits or atomic habits or automatic habits or unconscious habits. Those are valuable. Those are very important. But high performance requires deliberate habits. A deliberate habit means you kind of have to force yourself to do it. It's not easy. It's not automatic. It's not tiny. It's like going the extra mile thing. It's the tough work of life to go to another level. You want to be at the top. It's really friggin' hard. You have to accept that. And so what we did is we studied. We said, what is that difference maker? We spent $1 million on research. High performance means succeeding over the long term in any industry or endeavor or whatever, while still maintaining positive well-being and relationships. What high performers have answered is, how do you succeed over the long term without wrecking your health, your mindset, your positivity, and your relationships? We know lots of successful people, but they ruined all their relationships. We know successful people, they ruined their health. They're not high performers, they wouldn't qualify. What do? It's different practices, we call them high performance habits, and constantly revisiting to become clear every day. What is my intention? That revisit of clarity is supremely important to them. Not setting a goal on January 1st and forgetting it. It's literally consistency in intention. Like every day you hear about high performers, they look at their goals. Every day you set your intention. When I work with Oprah, she taught me every meeting you have with Oprah, she starts with, what's our intention of this meeting? Every meeting, because that's seeking clarity. So high performers seek clarity more often.
Need motivation? Watch the top 10 of Believe Nation because I love it.
Hey, it's Carmichael, and I make these videos because running the business is hard, and waking up every day and getting to work when you're all by yourself is hard. And the thing that saved me, that continues to inspire me, motivate me, give me hope, inspiration, ideas, is looking at the stories of people who've done a lot more than me. And I learn strategies, I get motivation, and it gets me to believe in myself to go off and attack the day. And so I hope this video inspires you to do the same as well. So today, let's learn from one of the best, Brendon Burchard, and my take on his top 10 rules of success. Enjoy. Rule number 2 is develop meaningful pursuits.
Everyone gets this wrong in personal development. They just haven't done the work. They tell you, you want meaning. That's how you know a beginner in personal development versus the pros. I know a lot of people who have meaning in their life. They have a great job. They got 2 great kids. They have an amazing spouse or partner. They're doing something. Some of you guys know, I actually started my first seminars for nonprofit leaders, if you didn't know. My first real seminars were teaching nonprofits how to partner with entrepreneurs, to raise more money, and entrepreneurs how to partner with nonprofits to spread a message or be part of a mission. Those are my first seminars, working with nonprofits. Do you know how many nonprofit leaders around this world still call me every single week? They're nonprofit leaders, and they're unhappy. They're saving lives in other countries, and they're unhappy. And when we get into it, what's going on there? There's a difference between meaning, having meaning, or generating meaning, and meaningful pursuits. Let me tell you this, if you lost the pursuit in your life, that's the difference between the comfortable life and the charged life. The pursuit of something greater or harder, the challenge, the push, that part where you have to extend yourself beyond the comfort into the demand. It makes you feel alive. It makes you find flow and challenge and difficulty of contribution. If contribution is too easy for you, the meaning will never make you feel fulfilled. Let me say it again. If your contribution is too easy for you, the meaning that you could have there will never make you feel fulfilled. You always wonder, why am I not fulfilled? Because you're doing something that is too easy for you. The human psyche drives for competence and the development of that competence, as we will talk about in a moment. So I know amazing people, they don't feel fulfilled because they lost the hunt. That's what we call it in Montana. I don't know, other metaphors, someone help me out. The hunt, the pursuit, right? You're not driving for something anymore. You're doing something, but you're not driving for something that matters to you. Live, love, matter. You got to drive something that matters to you. If it doesn't matter to you, it could be so meaningful. And you could be doing something meaningful, but if you're not stretching, if there's no pursuit, we lost the edge. And as soon as we lost the edge, we're back in the comfortable life, and we don't know why. And then we're bored, and then we're disconnected, and then we're in the cage, and then we're resentful. And then we're bitter. And then we think those bastards don't understand, and we're the animal in the back of the cage. This is so important. What's the pursuit? What's that contribution you're gonna go after? It might be a little outside your comfort zone. It might be a little bit much. And I know people get really hooked about the contribution word. Does that mean I need to change the world? I'm like, no. What's the contribution? Listen, there can be creative contribution. Making art is a contribution, right? Giving, serving, yeah, you can write checks, you can volunteer, but volunteerism isn't the only way of contributing. Contributing sometimes is being an unbelievable mom. Contributing sometimes means getting involved locally again. Contributing sometimes being a great leader at work, where you stop just doing your work and you see the other people at work and you work together and you're pursuing something, the drive that. A lot of companies, when I work with them, are like, oh, you all lost your pursuit. You became an organizational stagnant company. There's no pursuit. There's no edge there anymore. We gotta get that performance edge back in the culture, and all of a sudden people are like, woo, they're alive again.
Rule number 3 is learn to manage a team.
If you're trying to manage team or family, frankly, right? So family or team, I'll just say team, but your team might be your family. Your team might be paid employees. Your team might be people at work. Number one rule, if you're the leader, is this. You got to establish the rhythm of the company, the rhythm of the family, the rhythm of the team. What does that mean? It means everybody on your team needs to know what they should be doing every single week. That's the job. What should people do? That's their week. These are the major activities that they should be doing each week to maintain sanity, order, revenue, operations. Your rhythm is like your maintenance rhythm. It's like this just has to happen. This is the bare minimum we all have to do every single week. And every person on every role should know their rhythm. There's a rhythm. That's your meeting cadence that you set up for yourself or for your team. It's the output cadence that you're setting up for yourself or your team. I just call it the rhythm. And everyone should know what their rhythm is, and they should know what their counterpart, their team, their others, like, what are we all doing here? The more that you can establish that rhythm to meet the objectives of the team, again, that's whether you're a family or your team that you're at with work, the better. So you always start with, what are we trying to do? Right? What are we trying to do? Let's build a rhythm for that. Once we know what we're trying to do and there's a rhythm for that, everything starts to fall in place.
Rule number 4 is be more assertive.
The most impressive people I know, it's like, you don't know about this, Jamie Kern-Lima. Let me tell you what, she's incredibly assertive. She will come up with an idea. She's asked me to do things or asked me to be part. No one's ever asked me before. And I'm like, ooh. And sometimes I go, that was pretty direct. And then my high performance brain kicks in. I'm like, that's awesome. Oh my God, Jamie, that's awesome. Shoot, no one's ever asked me that before. Ever, my entire life. You know what she asked at this event? You know what she asked at the event? She's like, can I have 4 hours on stage? Do you know how many people I've had on this stage in 15 years? Remember, some of you, you're new to my world. I've done this 8 times a year for 15 years. Tony Robbins been on my stage. Wayne Dyer's been on my stage. Marianne Williamson's been on my stage. The late, great Debbie Ford was on my stage. Larry King's been on my stage. Harvey McKay's been on my stage. Brian Tracy's been on my stage. Jack Canfield's been on my stage. Everybody, 7, 8, 9 billionaires have been on my stages. I've been doing this a long time. No one ever asked me that before. Ever. How badass is that? At first, I thought, what? What are you talking about? You know, because if you've done something you're comfortable, every new request seems crazy. But you know what? Those crazy requests change the world. I want you to think about that. I want you to think about that. Now, we had already had an agenda, so that wasn't going to work for this particular one. But she still got an hour more than she was going to get because she asked. Because she asserted herself. She goes, I want more time on stage. I'm going to ask for that. Does that make her crazy or bad or awful? No, it makes her successful. Where are you asserting yourself? Where are you asking the big questions? Where are you asking for the favors? Where are you pushing? That's what I want you to do. That's your next level and you don't even know it. This is part of the things I do with all my groups. Many of you guys know this. I even teach this sometimes in Growth Day, that I want to make sure you finish every single Friday. Part of your Friday finishers, you make a bold request. You don't finish a Friday without an email going out or a voice message going out with a bold request. Find that person on LinkedIn, email them, DM them, message them. You think, oh, no. I need to wait until I have 1 million followers. I need to wait until I have 100,000 downloads. I need to wait until we hit 5 million. I need to wait until we hit 50 employees. I'm like, no. Now. Make the bold requests now. Because later is perennial. Make those bolder requests sooner, faster. Get in it. Successful people are assertive people. Right now, when they're ready, they go over and over. I want you to be a little crazy once in a while. And allow yourself to do this. Hey, here's my question. Where are you lacking this? Is it your career? And sometimes I'm not lacking that. I go, okay, do you have any employees? Yeah. Any difficult employees? Yeah. Any employees you should have let go of 5 months ago, 6 months ago? Yeah. Okay, you're lacking that. Hey, you have a good dream? Any big ideas? Yeah. How long you had that idea? 3, 4, 5 months? Yeah. Have you done anything about it? Make any bold requests? Pushed it? Made it happen? Bought the thing? Invested? Gone? Yes? No? No? You're lacking that.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there. Rule number 5 is embrace change.
How does one begin to change?
Yeah.
What is the catalyst for that? How does one, in your opinion, begin to change?
Well, in the old books of personal development always answer that by it's either inspiration or desperation, which we know. I'm a little more, I guess, framework driven than that.
Yeah.
I think that at some point, all change, it's inspired by ambition, which is funny because people today think ambition's this bad thing.
Yeah.
But ambition, whether you call it desire or drive, or you feel like you must, or in psychology, we call it psychological necessity. Like, I feel like it's necessary. Like, it's necessary now. There's no choice. There's no going back. There was a threshold. There's something. Not everyone needs a car accident, because you know how many people I've told that story to, millions of people in person, live on stadiums and arenas, or, 500 million people on video views now. It's I'm sure a lot of people say, I was in a car accident too. My car accident was even more dramatic than yours, because they lost a limb or they were disabled, but I didn't change.
Yes.
I didn't change, Brendon. Why? And ultimately it comes back to psychological necessity. And we can think about it a couple different layers. One layer is that you are the way that you are because of what we all call the comfort zone, right? There's comfort in who we are, how we behave, I should say, our natural strengths, talents, abilities, just who you are already. That's just your comfort zone. That's how you are. But what happens for other people, there's a layer above that, and they shift because now there's a demand zone. Circumstances demand you change.
Yeah.
Your dreams demand that you change. Something external demands that you change, or you place the demand on your own shoulders because you want a different kind of life. Most people are scared to demand anything from themselves.
Yeah.
And most people, when a demand hits them, it feels like an obligation and they fight it. They resist it. I don't want that. You're at work. Don't give me more stuff to do. How dare my manager ask me more? They fight. As soon as a demand approaches them, it's a threat.
True.
Other people just teach themselves because they're into growth. A demand approaches them. That's challenge. That's character development. Let me see if I can rise to that. So the approach to demand and how we view that as a threat or as a challenge is a fundamental mindset or choice of attitude. And then above that, there's another layer, which is why don't people change? And which oh my gosh, every episode you do, I feel like there's a masterclass on that. And that's what we call the esteem zone.
Okay.
Esteem zone. A lot of people have, comforts and abilities. They could be remarkable. They have the natural talents. Other people have lots of demands on top of them. They still don't change. Why? Esteem.
Yeah.
How they view themselves, value themselves, express themselves, relate themselves to the world.
Mm-hmm.
They, even though they have so much opportunity or so many natural talents, because how many gifted people do we know who never potentialize that gift?
So many.
Because their esteem, their value of themselves, their view of themselves, their belief in their ability to figure things out is so low that it doesn't matter. You could give them the greatest challenges, resources, tools, support, but no one ever cared for them. And they never taught themselves to care for themselves.
There you go.
So how can they change?
Rule number 6 is know when to quit.
Do you know the number one reason people quit jobs? The number one reason? It's usually because one person. Most people quit jobs not because of compensation, not because of ability to grow in that role. Most people quit jobs, worldwide reported by some of the largest consulting companies in the world, because of, number one, lack of appreciation. And when they say, well, who doesn't appreciate you? They usually say, my first line manager. So their immediate supervisor, okay? Number two, what else the reason? Because one conflict with one person. There's some bastard in the office they can't deal with. Like one person. But often, I just work with this person, works at Google. I had this great conversation, and he said, Brendon, I'm thinking about leaving Google. And I'm like, wow, leaving Google? I said, you're not gonna get paid higher somewhere else. What's the reason you're leaving? And he said, well, there's this one person. And I said, okay, let's break this down. Tell me about this one person. And they were having lots of difficulties, and it's been literally years, 2-3 years. They just can't stand this person. But I said, let's take your career and bust it down to 10 moving parts. So we drew out a bunch of boxes on a page, and I said, write down, when you think about your career here, fill in these boxes for me. If you're ever coaching somebody, make it visual. Like make them draw stuff. Like if you ever work with me personally, I'm gonna make you draw something pretty quick, or I'm gonna draw something for you pretty quick. Make it visual. So I would draw out 10 little boxes, and I said, fill in, when you think about your career, the totality of your career, what's the big moving pieces? What do you like? What do you not like? And he wrote in each of these boxes what he liked. And when he thought about his career, one of those boxes was inevitably filled with somebody they did not like. I said, okay. So 10 boxes. And the person was pretty happy with all 9 boxes. But this one box, one bad person at work, he was gonna quit a career. And so I had to have the difficult conversation, which is saying, you're avoiding this one box. You're gonna pull the plug on the whole thing because one box is bad? That to me is the lack of, I would say, intention and resilience, but also just skill in dealing with life, right? If you're gonna quit on your spouse because one fight, when you had one bad year, when you had 10 good years, I don't know how I feel about that. You know, I want to tell you as a coach, maybe is it something worth examining? Is it something to think about? Now, I don't know what happened in that year. Maybe it was really an awful year, but let's just consider it. Same thing for businesses. I know people, when they first start in this business, my business as an example, when they start being a thought leader, right? They're so passionate and they're so stoked for like 10 months, you know, awesome 10 months. And then they just have 1 month filled of complete doubt. I don't know if this is working, or they have 1 month, they do their first launch. No money, doesn't play out. But they were so passionate and creating and learning for 10 months. They have one bad month, they pull, well, this isn't for me, and they pull the plug. And I just go, I think what might be happening there is you're avoiding the challenging emotions of life. You're letting that one box globalize into everything else. And so I'd like you to think about that next time you want to quit on something. Just going, am I letting one box ruin the whole puzzle? Am I letting one person steal away my joy everywhere else? Because I see that all the time. You know, someone who just kind of stops engaging at work because 1 or 2 bad people when there's 10 other great people there. They globalize one person to mean the career. Globalize one person to mean Google. Globalize one fight to mean marriage. And that globalization immediately destroys their ability to engage fruitfully.
Rule number 7 is optimize time management.
There is no team in the world that has 100% perfect time management. And as a leader, what happens is you believe you've hired higher performers, everyone's managing their time. And what you don't realize that organizational theory shows across, like, I think all of research ever, let's just go with there, that there's a lot of slack in the system. Meaning that most people who say, yeah, I'm slammed, I'm 40 hours all week, they're not, because they tend to focus on things that might not matter. Your job is to push harder about time optimization and the needle movers. So catch me, I'm not saying burn out your team. I'm saying most teams are incredibly inefficient. And as leaders, we often don't think about making them more efficient, but maybe once a quarter, twice a year, we have the conversation. If you're a leader of a team, you actually have to have this time management conversation all the time, right? All the time. Like literally monthly, it has to be a conversation where you ask people, is there any bandwidth? If someone on this team has bandwidth, would you raise your hand? Would you let me know? Would you tell me? Because often what happens with teams too is people get too much bandwidth and they got an extra 4 or 5 hours a week. They're not doing anything. And at some point, because of that, they become more and more disengaged. And as a team, less and less high performing. So there's got to be someone on the team. Sometimes that's the manager, right? Or the supervisor who's just checking in. How are you doing? What were your goals this month? Did you fulfill them? Did you have any extra time? How's it going? This type of question is so important, okay? It's about you giving yourself permission to push harder about time optimization with your team. Very hard to have that conversation for many people because they're like, well, I don't know, is that rude? I'm like, no, that's responsible. If they're on your team and they're wasting your time, if you're an entrepreneur, that's your money, right? If they're wasting time, they become less engaged, less fulfilled. They feel like they're not contributing as much. So now they're just like kind of there, but not really all in. So you have to find that balance, which is hard. Sometimes, again, you have to hire that driver of the agenda who helps you do that, right? You can't be all things to all people. That's really important to know. Like, I'm someone who's probably terrible at that piece. So I have to have the other leads on the team to do that more than me. Like, I just can't. I'm doing too many roles. So again, if you're the visionary, you're the creator, you're the entrepreneur, this is where you get support in team to manage those schedules, to manage those details, and to keep pushing the thing forward versus waiting on you.
Rule number 8 is conquer your fears.
You can proceed in fear or in faith. You are a person and you are coming from one of the two. You are entering every situation from one of the two. Every situation. I'm going to enter this situation in a place of faith, and I'm going to trust that it's going to work out just as it needs to. Or I'm terrified. I don't know how it's going to go. And people don't understand how binary that conversation is in your brain. And I'm just somebody, I'm so proud that a long time ago I said, you know what? Fear is so much, to me, you know what fear is? Outside of physical threat. Physical threat is real. Okay, physical threat is real. But outside of physical fear, threat of safety, right? Outside of physical fear, most fear is just poor management of the mind. Write it down. Most fear is just poor management of the mind. I am not utilizing this brain to see this in a positive, confident, faithful light. And as soon as I can use this brain to see this and write this down in a positive, confident, faithful light, I do that to myself. Anytime I feel worry or fear, and trust me, I feel it, emotions are automatic. They're from the body often. They're impulsive, unregulated. They happen immediately. They're in, and often they're out. Most research shows an emotion rises and it's gone and dissipated within 2 minutes, but you feel it. So I feel it, and I don't choose to hang on to it and grab it and hug it and claim it and say that's me. And some of you did that with fear. You got scared a few times in your life, and you grabbed it, and you held on to it too long, and you integrated it, and now it's you. And you say, I'm just afraid all the time.
Rule number 9 is be patient.
The number one people skill has always been patience. It will always be patience, because in every argument you got in with somebody, I bet this was the problem. I bet every conflict you ever had, your entire life with another person, somewhere along the line, this got the better of you. Maybe you should have held your tongue, right? If you just listened, if you let them say 3 more sentences, then you spoke, you would have understood what they really meant, right? If you just waited to understand the situation before you try to go and do something, right? If you're trying to develop somebody and you're constantly telling them all the answers without answering the questions, if you expect somebody to get something faster than is humanly possible, it's just that people are so impatient. And it hurts them all the time. I mean, look, this guy could have said, he said, hey, you know what? I also ordered some ceviche, which, by the way, the funny thing is, my wife had to explain to me what ceviche was. I didn't know what that, usually just shows up when I eat some of it. I didn't know it was a thing. But I said, what? He was so mad. What's this ceviche thing? She's laughing at me. Anyway, if you could have just said, you know what? I ordered some ceviche too. I'm going to start picking away at this. Could you put that order in for me and I'll just wait for it? I'd love to. Maybe you can get it for me. He could have been cool. Could have been patient with the attendant. One of the reasons I love this place because the way the attendant responded to this guy. First, he was initially surprised. And then he was so like, oh, and he let the guy kind of fume about it. And he said, you know what I'm going to do right now? I'm going to go check on it. Maybe it's there. Maybe I missed it. It could have been there. I didn't pick it up. But let me go make sure I check. If not, I'll get the order in and we'll get it to you as soon as we can. And he was super cool. And he walked out and he stayed in his zen in the spa, even though the other dude lost it. I think this is something that might remind you, where are you being impatient right now? Where? Identify that place and check yourself, my friend.
And rule number 10, the last one before some very special bonus clips, is live in the moment.
Why you think more people aren't happy, and what could one do to just begin the journey of loving, living, and mattering more and being happier?
Oh, I love that. I think let's begin with most people don't know what happiness is or where they get it. I taught this at your event. It's a simple framework. It's like draw out a triangle. For those who are listening, draw out a little triangle, and on each of the points, I'll tell you what happiness is. Like the human desire and striving is we want a sense of aliveness. Mm-hmm. So you need to do more things that make you alive, make you vibrant, authentic, expressive, make you sense.
An example of that would be, give me one.
For some people, it's adventure. They go mountain biking. Okay. It's like, wow, that just brought me back to life. Some people, it's hanging out with great friends. Okay. Some people, it's doing their passion. Some people, it's, just honestly feeling and sensing the moment and meditating. Okay. Another thing that everyone wants is connection. Mm-hmm. Most people today lack the depth of happiness because I love what you said earlier. The difference between you and maybe Tony is that you really believe in the environment. Mm-hmm. And most people lack a connection with other people. Mm-hmm. They're surface level relationships. Mm-hmm. You can't be really happy long-term with surface level relationships. Mm-hmm. So you got to find out, how do I connect more deeply? And it can be simple things like you talked about. With the kids, maybe less than texting, call them. Have that moment of connection. It's nothing crazy. But that's what you're striving for. You want happiness with your kids. You're going to call them. You're going to connect with them. Mm-hmm. So think about connection relationships, a level of depth. Mm-hmm. Then we want meaningful pursuits. When I go after that, I love that pursuit. And notice it doesn't say meaning. A lot of people just say meaning. I said, no, it's meaningful pursuits. Because a lot of people we know who are really successful, they've already had a meaningful life. They're miserable because they're not pursuing anything anymore.
Gosh, Brendon, that's so true.
You got that. You got to have that pursuit, man. Yeah. You got to find a pursuit. It has meaning to you. It brings you back to life. That's happiness. And then the middle of the triangle is the capital G, growth. Mm. If you don't have aliveness, you don't have connection, you don't have meaningful pursuits, and you don't have growth, you're miserable. We can bank on it. We can guarantee it. The research will reveal it every single time. Mm. But if we can get you a little bit more alive, a little bit more connected, a little bit more meaningful pursuits, and a little bit more growth, those like little bit in each of those, it's like a thunderous shift in your life. You're just like, whoa, little bits in those. But there's an access point. Why aren't most people happy? Let's say they did all those things. Still not happy? And they're just not here. Mm. Presence is the gateway to happiness. Mm-hmm. If I can't get you present, to feel it, to sense it, can't change. What most people want in real, like what they really want, all the people I work with, maybe the people you work with, what they really want, they'll never say it, and almost of them never know it. What almost every human being wants is they want to feel the day more. They got all these activities they're blazing through. Get the kids to school, get this off to there, get that done, answer that email, get this project done. And even if they're moving towards things they find meaningful and they're awesome, but if they don't feel it, if they're literally not present, they're not mindful enough to sense it, to appreciate it, to feel grateful, to feel the joy, to feel the ups, to feel the downs, to feel the miseries, to feel the wins. If you aren't feeling the day, you're just blazing through as an automaton. You're just blazing through the days, on autopilot. You're just like overwhelmed, stress, going through it, but you don't feel the day. I can't get you to be happy. So the gateway to all of happiness is always presence. Learn to be more present in the moment. Feel the moment, even the bad ones. You got to feel the day more so that when you get on your knees at night to pray, you felt the day. Dear God, thank you. I felt this day. I felt those lessons you gave me. I felt those gifts you gave me. I felt, thank you for that connection. See, when you talk to God, if you don't feel, there's not a relationship there. God wants you to feel. It's a unique thing he gave us, not just the emotional reaction of an animal, but the ability to deeply appreciate feeling. Very human. So we got to tap people back in the present to deeply appreciate the moments, the feelings, the events of life again. And I think that's why I'm so happy. It's like, I feel so much. Most people are so scared of that. I'm like, I love it. It makes me feel alive, right? How do you sense more aliveness? You got to feel the day, feel the moment. Subtract, simplify, systemize. I'm sure you've heard this type of concept before. It's going through your calendar and removing things. To become more time efficient and enjoy your life, you need to remove some things. Like subtracting for me, as an example, I got rid of networking events and that weren't learning events. Things are just like, hey, let's all gather and network around cocktails. I was like, that's done. I ended that in my 20s. I was like, that was taking so much of my time in my 20s. And it was cool because, I'd meet some people, but it wasn't moving me forward towards my goals. I love meeting people, but then I found out the best place to network is actually at personal development type conferences or business type conferences, places where it's like intentional based learning, because I want to get around learners because learners are achievers. And so it's like, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get rid of all those random meetups that just make me tired and drain me from energy. I'm going to get in learning environments where I'm amplified. So I subtracted those types. What are you subtracting? Some of you are subtracting drama. I love it. Netflix. I love it. Social media. I love it. Some of you are subtracting. This is so good, by the way. I love a lot. Excessive office trainings or meetings. This is super good. What else? More social plans. Yep. Good. I think that's so important. Putting limits on lots of different structures. You got to know what you need to subtract. It's really important. The other thing is to simplify. There aren't that many things you need to be doing. You feel like there are, but probably only 3 or 5 of them actually move the needle. And as soon as you identify those, in high performance habits, it's called prolific quality output. And so we're always looking like, what is the things that we need to do? And there's probably only a couple of them that actually move the needle the most. Pay attention to those. Simplify, simplify, simplify. I always tell people too, you want better time management, simplify all the things you want of life. Like this setup is so simple for me to run. There's a light here, a camera there. My laptop is here. You can actually see. There it is. Okay. And a microphone. That's it. I used to have all this fancy rigging and lighting stuff. Nope. Now it's one box right there. Good to go. Right. My podcast station right over there, one mic on it, simplified. Everything off the desk. Right over here where I work, simplified. Everything off the desk. Just simplify your life. I promise you'll be happy about it. And then systemize. Systemize means, what do you do on a consistent basis that either a tool online can do
or a person can do. And it's about systemizing, like writing down the rules, writing down the process, handing that off, delegating that or automating that with your system changes everything. Just like maybe you're doing marketing and you go, oh, instead of me doing all this outbound all the time, I'm going to automate that process. When they come in, the actions are triggered with the emails and the messages afterwards. That prevents you from having to do all the outbound yourself all the time, right? It's like you have to go, what's the goal? Well, the goal is to get more clients. Okay, my goal is to get more clients, but I don't have the time to talk to everybody. How can I systemize that? Build an online funnel or some other type of attraction campaign that allows me not to have to be doing all that all the time. And most of my life is just run on systems. It just happens. It just runs. It's just a routine and rhythm. And that happened when I was broke. That happened when I got more successful. You just get better and better at it.
I don't ever try to explain or make an excuse or engage haters. Never. Most of the time it's just delete, get them out of there. Like block them from your community. But your job isn't just to protect your ego. Your job is to protect your community. And when you get haters in there, block them, delete them, get them out of there. And people go, well, Brendon, that's just, I mean, how can you do that? Shouldn't you show everybody's voice? I'm like, no. Because everybody's voice, when it's hatred or negative, I don't need to let that into my community. Like my job is to be the guardian of my community, just like I'm supposed to be the guardian of my family, and just like I'm supposed to be the guardian of my own mind. And so if these people come up and they're doing it over and over, block them. I'm fine, and so should you be if you get constructive criticism. Hey, Brendon, have you ever thought about doing this? Or, hey, I saw that, you could have done this better. Like those kinds of things we never delete. It's the people who are just cussing, swearing, saying negative things that you're just like, it's a person venting off because they had a bad day versus someone who's engaging and trying to make me or the art or the community better, right? That's what's really important to know. That's really important to know is that you don't have to allow them in the community. You also don't have to explain yourself. And I always say this, stop trying to explain, just demonstrate. That's it. Just demonstrate. Demonstrate by showing up time and time and time again. Demonstrate by staying the course. Demonstrate by being authentically you. Demonstrate by not giving up. Demonstrate that no matter what they're gonna say, you're gonna keep showing up and doing you. You know, everybody said, probably in the 5th major impressionist painting that Monet did, this is kind of crazy, looks stupid. He just kept being prolific at his own art. And now, one of the greats, one of the legends, right? Think of every musician that you love, every major star in any area, whether it's a rock star or whether it's somebody you look up as a leader in some big business. Guess what? They also got a lot of hate. But they didn't feel like they had to explain themselves or change themselves for the haters. Instead, they just said, okay, let me show who I am by how I move my feet each day, by how I show up each day, by what I work on each day. I never try to excuse myself or explain myself in some way to a hater. Usually what I do is I read their comment and I laugh. And what I do is I explain and justify myself to myself. Don't engage them. Engage yourself. Like when you see that, ask, how am I dealing with this? Am I on my own path? Am I doing what's important to me? Not in a way that makes you like fall into their trap of thinking less of yourself, but rather you using it as an excuse to validate exactly the fact that yes, you are understood. Yes, exactly the fact that maybe you're the only one who gets you right now. Maybe Monet did think he was crazy from all the feedback, but he kept going. And that's what's important. Demonstrate. Because here's what's going to be funny. It tends to happen that the more momentum you get, the more believers you get. Yes, as you grow, sort of like the circumference of your impact gets bigger. And so a lot more like people who are just mad or upset or haters show up on the side. That always happens, right? They'll show up on the perimeters, right? As you grow, more like crazy haters will show up on the perimeters. But as you grow, also in that sphere of influence, that grows. And your tribe grows, your community grows, the people grow with you. So trust that as you demonstrate and you stay disciplined towards your own art, your own voice, that the tribe will build. Third big idea, which I love, is my 45-day quit rule. Now, this is one of those things I think I mentioned in the email announcing this. You guys aren't gonna wanna do There's 2 things on here I know you're not gonna wanna do. This one I forced myself to do. Here's what the 45-day quit rule is. And it's hard for me. I hate this one. I look at all my big project ideas. I don't know about you, but I have a journal with all my big ideas in it, or I have my vision board, or I have an Excel spreadsheet of all these different ideas and projects I want to do. And I've got right, as an example right now, I know my next 6 books I'm going to write. I know them. I know my next 3 campaigns I'm going to launch. I know them. But here's what I have to force myself to do, and I don't like it. I say, okay, if this is a major project that I want to do, even if it could lead to significant growth, if I'm not going to start it, listen to this, if I'm not going to start it in the next 45 days, it's off my plate until next year. I just get real. I go, okay. And I'm like, okay, well, if I'm not gonna start on this thing by the early fall, I'm not gonna do it. And I literally just take it from my journal, my little bucket of things I wanna do this year, and I put it out, and I feel so mentally relieved. A lot of people have a lot of anxiety about the number of projects they have on their plate that they really wanna do. And so what ends up happening is that anxiety leads to a lot of procrastination. That anxiety leads to a lot of poor prioritization because there's so much to do. They're like, oh my God, there's so much to do here, so I won't do any of it. Ever had that? Have you ever found yourself in front of Netflix going, oh my God, I have so much to do, but I just watched the 4th video in the 3rd season. Has that ever happened? You have so much to do, and that's the problem. You have so much to do that you haven't prioritized what you are going to do, so you don't do anything. So what I do is this time of year, I look at all those things that are on my plate, and I get honest. Which ones am I gonna start in the next 45 days? And if I'm not gonna start in the next 45 days, now it's not even on my mental concern. It's not even on my dashboard. No anxiety there. No, oh my God, I still gotta get that one in. Nope, it's gone.
When people don't get more momentum, or they set a habit or a goal and they say, I'm gonna achieve that, but they don't. I believe one of the main reasons why is this first fail. People fail to see beyond now. They fail. They see their current circumstances right now. They go, oh my God, I got bills to pay. Oh my God, I got in that fight last night. Oh my God, I haven't done work for 3 months, so why would I do it now? They get stuck because all their vision is stuck now. And I know this from even high performers, very successful people who I've been able to be blessed to work with, whether I'm working with an Olympian, literally a billionaire, or having the opportunity to network, associate, coach, connect with some of the most extraordinary people in the world. One of the things that I always have to do in the conversations with them is move their mindset and their conversation pattern from today to the future. Because what's the opposite? If you are stuck in today and you don't believe today can change, that you're gonna be right here all the time, that this is just the way you are, that this is just what your income's always gonna be the same, you're never gonna make any more money, you're never gonna impact more people, you're never gonna get out of that argument pattern, and you're just focused on that, that quickly leads to upset, hurt, turmoil, negative emotion, and ultimately to depression. And because, what's one way to help somebody move out of those bad emotions? You start moving them towards their future again. Give them something to look to that inspires them, that challenges them, that makes them want to be something more. And this is what I tell people all the time. I say, you want more momentum in your life? Start expecting something from yourself again, beyond what is today, right? Because maybe you're already good. You're like, Brendon, I'm watching this. I got my thing down, homie. Maybe that's where you're at. But sometimes your next level is expect even more of yourself. That have that truly, that hunger inside, that higher standard that says, you know what? I want my life to be so significantly better. And then when you say that, don't get depressed or upset, because what people say, I want my life to be so better, but it's so bad. Look at all these things. And all they do is they're focused on today. See, they're failing to see beyond now. I want the big dream, but it sucks now. And then they spend hours thinking about how it sucks now. And they're like, I wonder why I can't get motivated. Because if you spend hours thinking about how it sucks now, you will generate the negative emotional reality that will keep you stuck in that now. It is our job to look beyond the now, right? Yes, be fully engaged. Yes, be fully present. But if you want momentum, you need to raise your ambitions. And when you raise your ambitions, you stay stuck right there. You see that person, feel that person, be that person. You're there, not here.
Strive and serve free from outcome. Those of you who read any Eastern philosophies or spiritual work, whether it's the Bhagavad Gita, whether it's, Buddhism, whether it is more ancient ways of thinking, the idea was show up, work hard, help other people, but free yourself from the expectation of the outcome. This is hard because a lot of people have mattered, but they didn't get the outcome they thought. So they didn't integrate that they mattered. Does this make sense? They're like, I thought if I did that for other people, I'd become famous. And so they don't feel like they mattered. Because what they're focusing on is, did I become famous? Did not? No, then I don't matter. Versus focusing on, I showed up and helped people. Meaning, if you're emphasizing the perfect outcome versus engaging in the process, you will rarely feel like you matter. Your focus is on this thing that you can't control or contribute to. And if there's no connection to that outcome in your mind, you go, well, I guess I didn't matter. I guess I did all that. I didn't matter. I was talking with a mom recently. She has a daughter who just turned 22 years old. And for the first 21 years of her daughter's life, her daughter liked her. And then her daughter turned 22. She doesn't know why, but all of a sudden at 22, this daughter no longer likes mom. And she feels like she doesn't matter. All of a sudden, I said, well, did you feel like you mattered 5 years ago? She goes, yeah. I said, why? Well, my daughter liked me. I said, so your sense of whether or not you matter in life depends on whether or not in this moment today, someone likes you and approves of you. You see how ridiculous that thinking is? So the process of being an amazing mom for 21 years goes out the door. I don't matter because now my daughter don't like me. I did all that for nothing, focusing on an outcome. And most outcomes are immediate. We forget that outcomes are entirely changeable over a period of time. We lose perspective. We zero in on what's wrong today and we feel wrong versus recognizing this woman made incredible choices throughout her life to care for this daughter. She's got enough meaning and mattering points to last 5 lifetimes for parents who are disengaged and don't care. This woman gave so much, but she never gave herself the gift of feeling like she matters.
Do you feel like this week you were rapidly moving towards the completion of a major project in your life? I mean, do you feel like you made major strides? I think every Friday is a good day to wake up and say, did I make major strides this week? Or was I kind of all over the place? And major strides mean there is a direction towards your efforts. You're not just randomly doing everything because they emailed you about it. You have a clear sight to where you're trying to go. You got some clear projects lined up. Even if they're only lined up for the next 30 days, that's okay. You don't have to be able to see 5, 10, 15, 20 years out to be able to organize the next 30 days. Does that make sense? I'll be an example. I don't know where I'll be exactly in 10 years. I know I'll still be doing this. For me, I'll be writing and I'll be teaching, but I don't know how that might be. I might be doing it by, in 10 years from now, I might be, 100% hologram. I mean, in 10 years from now, I might be on your kitchen table right now in front of you. Creepy, I know. But, we don't know what's going to happen in 10 years. But I hope you know what's going to happen in the next 30 days. Do you know what's going to happen in the next 30 days? Do you know what you're going to make happen in the next 30 days? I've found that that's how high performers think. They are clear on the major projects and initiatives in their life. And they have taken all the tasks that are required to make those projects and initiatives happen, and they've organized them into buckets of projects or initiatives. A huge piece of high performance in all the coaching I do, and I've been blessed to coach billionaires, so please don't anyone say, well, this doesn't apply to me, I already know it. Because the worst thing you can ever do in your personal development is go, yeah, I already know. It's not do you already know, it's do you implement with unbelievable amounts of focus, discipline, and consistency. I don't care if you know the topic. You might already know block time. Yeah, Brendon, I've heard you teach block time. That's fine. That's why I'm here live with you, coaching you every single month to ask a question. Good. I'm glad you know block time. Did you do it last week effectively? Is it clearly scheduled this upcoming week? If I zoom out on your calendar, can I see these blocks of time clearly leading to the completion of an initiative or a project? If not, my friend, this is $1 million moment for you. This is the moment where you go, whoa, I need to get more strategic and disciplined in defining my projects, breaking them down, and making sure they land on my calendar. Because if they don't, you're only gonna do what the world gives you. And if you only do what the world gives you, you will always be a reactive person. And if you are always a reactive person, you'll never be capable of adding the value that you know you can add in the world.
You don't need to shame yourself in self-improvement. What you need to do is be aware and set up a better system. The concepts of self-improvement should inspire you, not shame you. And you're the only person who shames yourself. And the routine that you have of shaming yourself needs to end. If I just keep shaming myself that I haven't written a book in 5 years, what do? Am I more likely to write a book? Or do I need to go, you know what? I need to acknowledge that I can't trust myself with that process because I'm not getting the outcome. Let me set up a better system. Let me set up some habits or some routines, some social situations or obligations that will turn me over. That will help me. How many of you have a purpose, a clear purpose, a mission, an inspiration? You have a future vision. You're so excited about it, and you still don't do crap. See, our world's been conned into thinking, well, if you have a why, you'll do it. I'm like, oh no, trust me. The only people who do that are academics and motivational speakers who write books on it, who've never actually coached and worked with people over a series of years and been responsible for their results. That's why I love coaches, because coaches can't BS stuff, because we actually work with people and we only get paid if we get results, not if we publish a book. I love knowing your why, but pretending that's the problem or the total solution is never the right answer. Lots of people have a very clear why, and they don't do crap. They might have a why and a purpose and a vision, a dream. They don't have self-trust, or they don't trust their team, or they don't trust the people around them. And as soon as that trust is eroded, you can have a compelling dream. You can have vision board after vision board, battle board after battle board, but you don't move. The most important thing, though, is to hear what I'm saying here and not shame yourself. Sometimes you're going to have to prioritize skill building over stability. And what I mean by that is maybe you have this idea that you're going to have this dream career one day. Well, maybe you're going to have to be an intern first and be barely able to afford rent to build up the skills that would deserve and grow you into that career. Right? We have to think about, okay, in order to have this vision that I have, what specific skills would I need to develop this year, next year, over the next 5 years, over the next 10 years to get there? You know, I was a kid that was kind of awkward. Well, I still am awkward, but I was the kid who, I was kind of happy-go-lucky, but I was kind of scared of people, because where I grew up, there was a lot of abuse and a lot of people smacked people around where I grew up. So I had to get over that, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna be a great communicator one day. So I started taking classes on communication, reading books on communication, reading the classics like How to Win Friends and Influence People, or How to Be a Positive Thinker, or How to Be a Person of Influence and Lead Others. And I just started studying communication. When I wanted to do this work, I had no idea how to do video. I didn't know how to do podcasting. I'd never learned HTML yet. I didn't know about a blog. I didn't know how to do an event at a venue, let alone, the thousands of people now that come to our events. I had to put that on my skill building sheet.
and say, okay, there's gonna be times that I'm gonna prioritize skill building over having a stable job, or having, a stable income, or having like a stable, like I know exactly how every week is gonna go, because I was gonna be a collector of skills. I was gonna have that vision and go like collect all the skills to get there, even if in the short term sometimes it was hard. It makes sense? So make a list of all the skills you need to develop, and then you have to ask yourself, are you willing to compromise your lifestyle a little bit to develop those skills? Sometimes that means working for less pay. Sometimes that means going and getting a mentor and working with a company and just starting from the ground up to develop skill. But your skill set is the pathway to the greater visions of life.
Do you have a plan? Is it written down? Is it on a wall? Is it executable? Is it a plan that serves your business growth goals, but also your lifestyle, your life goals? If you think about the next 6 months of your business, again, which is your Super Bowl in our industry, like, what's your plan? What's your plan this month, next month, the month after that, the month after that? Get together a plan. If you don't have a plan yet, you're still like, I don't know what I'm going to offer, or I'll figure out my new offer next month. You're cheating yourself, and you're going to fall into a lower sentiment. You're going to experience less progress. Don't keep thinking, oh, I just need to keep learning. I need to keep learning. No, put a plan in place. Make a decision. What's the offers? When are we going to launch them? What's the evergreen? What's going to be running? Like 1 or 2 serious decisions today about your plan changes everything. The benefit that many of you have, as my friend does, is they have money. They have sufficient money to survive, sufficient money to have abundance or give something to kids. And what I found over and over and over in this space specifically, people with money, more often than anyone else, fails to make a plan because they don't have to. And this is a transition. They're transitioning from one thing into another. They're in a moment of transition. And so they're like, you know what? I'm comfortable. I'm safe. I actually don't have to do anything. I'll just keep learning. I'll keep engaging. I like the learning. But at some point, they never make the plan, and that cheats them from the progress, that cheats them from the impact, and then their sentiment goes down. Even if they're in the right group, or they got the good business, or they do know how to help people. They just never made a plan and executed it. And people like you in a group like this, there is a high achievement mindset that needs to know that you are executing against a plan. This is what happens when people retire. They had a plan in their career. They had work plans and teams, and then they retire and they forget to make a plan. And a month goes by, they're all right. Maybe even a year, maybe even 2 years of decompression. But at some point, they kind of could start not just going stir crazy, they lose self-esteem. Their mental health goes down. Humans are goal-driven people. We have to have a goal, a plan, and be moving towards it to sense that we are activating our potential. Our sense of our potential is often tied to having a plan.
Because you made it this far in a video, I want to celebrate you. Most people start and don't finish. Most people never actually follow through. Most people say they want something, but they don't ever do the work to actually get it. But you are different. You are special. Believe Nation, you made it here all the way to the end, and I love you. So as a special celebration, if you put a hashtag believe down in the comments below on this video, I will showcase you and celebrate you somewhere on the screen in a future video because you are awesome.
For 10 more amazing rules from Simon Sinek, check the video right there next to me. I think you'll love it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
I've always thought of this as a weakness. So I was at a networking event many years ago, and I met a guy, and he's like, Simon, you're fantastic. Would love to work with you. Here's my card. And if I was organized, I'd be texting from the cab on the way home or emailing the next day when I get to work.